Hi, this is Simon and welcome to another marvelous video. Today we're going to talk about an incredibly influential dystopian science fiction movie franchise, one that is a classic staple of the humans versus androids genre, Blade Runner. The first Blade Runner film was released in 1982 and was directed by Ridley Scott and written by Hampton Fancher and David Peoples. It is an adaptation of Philip K. Dick's 1968 book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The movie takes place in a dystopian Los Angeles of 2019, where the powerful Tyrell Corporation has created replicants, or synthetic humans, to serve as laborers in space colonies. In this video, we will explore the true evils of the Tyrell Corporation, so keep watching. Before we go on to our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. All about the android-producing evil organization, Tyrell Corporation. The history of this corporation was shown in the 1982 film. The Tyrell Corporation was founded by a man named Dr. Eldon Tyrell. Tyrell was a pioneer in the field of biorobotics and put his genius to use by first starting off with creating animals such as pets or workhorses. This was because the Blade Runner story is set on a dystopic Earth, and Eldon Tyrell began his research during a time when most animals had gone extinct, likely due to human activities. Tyrell's work was fantastic, producing lifelike animals, and as a natural progression goes, they soon had enough expertise and technology to be able to start experimenting with human models and created humanoid androids by intersecting biomedical engineering, cybernetics, and robotics. The demand for an obedient workforce has also begun since humanity and finally became advanced enough to be able to travel to space in large numbers and settle on various planets, colonizing them. However, colonizing is a tedious process, especially when all infrastructure has to be built from scratch, and thus came the demand for a workforce that would be nothing more than laborers. Since humans themselves could not be employed, people looked at Tyrell to create the next best thing, androids. Soon the company's expertise grew to the point that it launched its first successful humanoid model. The model was called Nexus 1 and quickly garnered immense popularity. This model was released in the year 2005 and looked incredibly human. While their construction was that of a standard robot, much like the ones we see on the news channels today, they were encased or covered in genetically engineered human flesh, which allowed them to blend in with humans. The Nexus 1 was the beginning of 9 generations of humanoid replicants that the Tyrell Corporation would create and subsequently send out into the world. After the Nexus 1 came the Nexus 2 in 2006, and the major upgrade here was that the humanoid replicants had a programmed personality. Then came Nexus 3 2 years later, and it was a model which included basic human emotions. With each version, Tyrell got closer and closer to creating humans, making him somewhat akin to a god. By this time, space colonization had already begun, and many of the world's leading and most prosperous nations such as America, the Soviet Union, and the European Union began sending these early Nexus models to their colonies to serve as slave labor. They built the infrastructure and served humans. However, since they were androids, at the end of the day, they were not cared for. Most of the human replicants were able to blend into the colonies that they were sent to. However, a revolt by a Nexus line combatant team led to them being banned on Earth. However, this did not deter the Tyrell Corporation. When the United Nations demanded that demarcations must be made to differentiate humans from human replicants, the corporation administered psychological tests to show and make sure that while they looked human, they simply did not possess humanity. Further, all the human replicants were created with short lifespans of 4 years so that they would never be able to overthrow or come in conflict with humans. With this demand being met, Nexus 4 and 5 was soon launched, along with Nexus 6. The Nexus 6 is an integral part of this story. By the time of the creation of this model, the Tyrell Corporation had realized a dark secret. Their human replicants all demonstrated a bizarre behavior, a want to live for longer, something that could possibly lead them to developing emotions, making them indistinguishable from humans. To stop this from happening, the company started implanting false memories of life, and while this worked for a while, things came to a head in 2019. A group of human replicants Model Nexus 6 hijacked a shuttle and came to Earth. They were motivated solely by the idea of having a longer, fuller life, and in this quest, they tracked down Dr. Eldon Tyrell. However, when one of them confronted him and asked him to extend his lifespan, Tyrell confessed that he could not. Finding this answer unacceptable, the human replicant gouged out Dr. Tyrell's eyes and killed him. This is largely where the story ends in the 1982 film. However, the corporation does not see its end after the death of its founder and CEO, but more on that later. Tyrell's corporation history is married with violence and genocide, making it one of the most controversial and, one might even say, evil corporations in the history of science fiction. A little something about the founder of Tyrell Corporation. Tyrell Corporation's CEO and founder is the biorobotics genius Dr. Eldon Tyrell, and thus the humanoid replicants are his creations. As we know, some of them were distributed as inducements for people who immigrated to the colonies off-world. Further, to defend those settlers, others were employed in combat. He had an enormous god complex and saw himself as the genius creator of the replicants, a man who could create life, even if it only lasted for 4 years before being destroyed, and then exercised complete control over his creations. It is thus not a surprise that he was also killed by his own creation. In the 1982 film, Tyrell is located by Roy Batty and J.F. Sebastian, who beg him to grant them permission to extend the lifespan of human replicants above the 4-year limit set for the Nexus 6 model. Tyrell, however, asserts that the replicant's DNA inherent instability makes it impossible for him to grant this request. Upon hearing this, Batty kisses Tyrell before using his bare hands to gouge out his eyes and crush his skull, putting an end to Dr. Eldon Tyrell. However, his work lived on. The role of Eldon Tyrell was played by actor Joe Turkel, who is, in fact, best remembered for his performance as Dr. Eldon Tyrell and Lloyd, the spectral barman in the Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film The Shining. He was just one of 2 performers who collaborated with Kubrick 3 times in a credited role. His other appearances were as Tiny in the 1956 film The Killing and in 1957's film Paths of Glory. Later, after playing Eldon Tyrell again in the 1997 video game Blade Runner, he gave up acting, but his legacy as the head of Tyrell Corporation remains. Blade Runner Blackout 2022 explored a new side of Tyrell Corporation. The 2017 tech-noir cyberpunk anime short film Blade Runner Blackout 2022 was created by Cygames Pictures and directed by Shinichiro Watanabe. The short is one of 3 short films that function as prequels to the live-action movie Blade Runner 2049, together with 2036, Nexus Dawn, and 2048, Nowhere to Run. The short was released on Crunchyroll on September the 27th, 2017, and the story starts off 3 years after the final of Blade Runner 1982. In this film, we obviously see an animated version of Tyrell Corp, and Dr. Eldon Tyrell's character is definitely missed. Here is what happens. The death of Dr. Eldon Tyrell did not hinder Tyrell Corporation's functioning, since by that time they had grown to the size of a massive industry, having a complete monopoly over the creation of human replicants. They thus released the Nexus 7 and then the Nexus 8. The Nexus 8 was a special model since the company had managed to crack the code and grant the human replicants natural human lifespan. However, they were designed with ocular implants that distinguished them from humans and also tracked via a central database. Upon their release, they were deemed a threat to the human race, and there was already enough suspicion towards the human replicants. Thus, pushed over the edge, humans started hunting down the replicants in large numbers around the year 2022. In order to stop the extermination of replicants, a clandestine replicant freedom movement devised a plan to destroy Tyrell's registry of replicants. Iggy Cygnus and Trixie, 2 Nexus 8 replicants, carried out this mission. Ren Duss, a Tyrell technician, felt pity for replicants and diverted a test missile to explode over Los Angeles, resulting in a widespread blackout. Iggy and Trixie, meanwhile, used a fuel tanker that had been hijacked to destroy Tyrell servers. The corporation fell bankrupt after the blackout and the following ban on replicants and their production, and became defunct. Subsequently, the Khan Corporation brought its assets, Squatters and scientist Frost had their permanent residence in the company's abandoned offices by the year 2026, and Frost still appeared to think the business was active. The Wallace Corporation later acquired the company's remnants in 2028 and recommenced work on the replicants. By the middle of the 2020s, the Los Angeles-based headquarters structures were in a condition of disrepair. By October 2032, they had been reconstructed. They even rolled out the Nexus 9, a final model which was completely subservient and obedient, making sure that what happened before would never happen again. The film showed that there were sympathetic humans even within the Tyrell Corporation, but most importantly, it showed that one simply could not wipe out the company. There is, after all, a constant demand for mindless laborers. How did the creators come up with the idea of Tyrell Corporation? The novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which original Blade Runner movie is based on, referenced the Rosen Association as a synthetics manufacturer, and it was this Rosen Association that served as the inspiration for the Tyrell Corporation. Coming to the corporation itself, one major thing that stands out is its iconic and unforgettable pyramid-like structure. Special effects photographic supervisor Douglas Trumbull commented on the structure of the building in the 1982 official souvenir booklet, saying that as far as he could remember, the pyramid was a combination of his own ideas and Ridley Scott's, who was a director. The Tyrell building was originally intended to be a large structure located right inside the city. However, they felt that placing it far outside of the town, where it would truly rise above the horizon, would be more striking and visually captivating. And they were absolutely right. In fact, the physical presence of the Tyrell Corporations oozed a mysterious and dark aura, having an almost ominous presence. It's interesting to note that the organization was known as the Nico Corporation in a draft for Blade Runner dated December the 22nd, 1980. Later on, a company in Blade Runner, the role-playing game, was named Nico, also likely a reference to the draft. In conclusion, Tyrell Corporation actually sounds very innocent, like a firm that manufactures organic home cleaning goods or a vehicle insurance company, considering that it has a motto like more human than human. Although they don't appear to be particularly terrible, Eldon Tyrell, driven by an egotistical god complex, goes so far as to give the androids false memories in an effort to make them seem more human. The replicants were initially made as a legion of mindless slaves and then given thoughts, which caused them to hunger for escape and force the formation of the Blade Runner squads to find and kill them. In fact, as we see it, Tyrell Corporation only wants to make a lot of money at the expense of both human and android life, and that is about as evil as they get. What do you think? Tell us in the comment section below. And if you liked our content, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe.